Undersecretary Claire Dennis S. Mapa. From NEDA, our resource persons are Undersecretary Adoracion M. Navarro and Undersecretary Rosemary G. Edelion. Also from PSA, we have Assistant Secretary Rosalinda P. Bautista. To start our press conference, please welcome Yusek Claire Dennis S. Mapa, National Statistician and Civil Registrar General of the PSA, for the presentation on the 2018 full year official poverty statistics of the Philippines.
Good morning, everyone. The Philippine Statistics Authority is pleased to report official poverty statistics for the full year of 2018 based on the preliminary 2018 Family Income and Expenditure Survey. The following are the official poverty statistics that will be released in today's press conference. A. Poverty and food threshold. B. Poverty incidence and magnitude of poor families and population. And letter C. Subsistence incidence and the magnitude of poor families and population. In the full year of 2018, a family of 5 needed at least 10,727 on the average to meet both basic food and non-food needs in a month. This is an increase of 13.5% from the poverty threshold in the full year of 2015, estimated at 9,452. Poverty incidence among Filipino families in the full year of 2018 was estimated at 12.1%. This means that 121 out of 1,000 families have incomes below the amount needed to buy their basic food and non-food needs in the full year of 2018. This was estimated at 17.9% in the same period in 2015. The number of poor Filipino families in the full year of 2018 is estimated at 3 million. In the full year of 2015, this was estimated at 4.1 million. Poverty incidence among Filipinos in the full year of 2018 was estimated at 16.6%, which means that 166 out of 1,000 Filipinos belong to poor families whose income were below the amount needed to buy their basic food and non-food needs. During the same period in 2015, poverty incidence among Filipinos was recorded at 23.3%. About 17.6 million Filipinos had incomes that fall below the poverty threshold in the full year of 2018. For the same period in 2015, this was estimated at 23.5 million Filipinos. For the food threshold in the full year of 2018, a family of 5 needed at least 7,528 on the average to meet their family basic food needs in a month. This is an increase of 14% from the full year of 2015, which was estimated at 6,605 pesos. The subsistence incidence among Filipino families was estimated at 3.4% in the full year of 2018. This means that 34 out of 1,000 Filipino families have incomes below the minimum amount needed to buy their basic food needs in the full year of 2018. In the same period, in 2015, the proportion of families who are food poor was recorded at 6.4%. The 3.4% translates to about 800,000 families that fall below the food threshold in the full year of 2018. In the same period, in 2015, this was estimated at 1.5 million families. Among the population, about 52 out of 1,000 Filipinos were categorized as food poor, with incomes below the amount needed to buy their basic food needs during the full year of 2018. For the same period, in 2015, this was estimated at 9.1%. This translates to 5.5 million Filipinos whose income falls short of the food threshold in the full year of 2018. This was estimated at 9.2 million in the full year of 2015. The following slides will present the poverty and food threshold, poverty incidence among families and population, and subsistence incidence among families and population at the regional level. At the regional level, average poverty threshold for a family of 5 was observed to be highest at the National Capital Region, with about 11,951 in a month during the full year of 2018. On the other hand, Mimaropa registered the lowest average poverty threshold for a family of 5 in a month, with 9,679 for the same period. Among the 17 regions, the National Capital Region posted the lowest poverty incidence among families with 1.5% in the full year of 2018. On the other hand, the poverty incidence among families in the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao was 53.6% in the full year of 2018. Similarly, the National Capital Regions posted the lowest poverty incidence among the population with 2.3% in the full year of 2018. On the other hand, poverty incidence among the population in the ARMM was the highest at 61.3%. Similar to the poverty threshold, the National Capital Region posted the highest food threshold among the regions with about 8,345 average food threshold for a family of 5 in a month in the full year of 2018. Mimaropa was estimated to have the lowest food threshold with 6,713 average food threshold for a family of 5 in the same period in 2018. In terms of subsistence incidence among families, the National Capital Region had 0.2% in the full year of 2018, while the ARMM had 22.8%. In terms of population, the National Capital Region had subsistence incidence of 0.4% in the full year of 2018, while the ARMM posted 29.6%. Similar to the previous releases, provinces are grouped based on their poverty incidence among families and the lower and upper bound of the poverty incidence. Cluster 1 refers to those provinces with relatively high poverty incidence, while Cluster 5 refers to the group of provinces with relatively low poverty incidence, referred also to the least poor cluster. In the full year of 2018, there were 3 provinces belonging to the poorest cluster. These provinces were Basilan, Lanao del Sur, and Sulu. Those highlighted in blue were consistently in the poorest cluster since 2015. Meanwhile, there were 70 provinces and 4 districts of the National Capital Region belonging to the least poor cluster in the full year of 2018. In 2015, only 10 provinces and the 4 districts of the National Capital Region belonged to this cluster. Those highlighted in blue were consistently in the least poor cluster since 2015. This map presents the clustering of provinces based on the poverty incidence among families. There were more provinces in the full year of 2018 with shades of green than those in the full year of 2015, which means more provinces had relatively low poverty incidence in 2018. Given the new master sample for 2018, the Philippine Statistics Authority is able to generate reliable statistics down to the provincial level as well as highly urbanized cities. Hence, we are able to generate poverty and subsistence incidence for these HUCs. And this table presents the poverty incidence and subsistence incidence among the families for the cities in the National Capital Region, including Pateros. It can be observed that these cities have relatively low poverty incidence ranging from 0.2 to 17.1, and subsistence incidence ranging from 0 to 5.1. The Philippine Statistics Authority appreciates your presence in this press conference on the full year 2018 official poverty statistics. Thank you very much and good morning.
Thank you, Yusek Mapa. Now let us hear the NEDA statement on the official poverty statistics to be delivered by Yusek Adoracion and Navarro.
Members of the Philippine Statistics Authority, colleagues from NEDA, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are pleased that the official poverty statistics for the full year 2018 reported by the Philippine Statistics Authority show significant progress, not just in terms of increasing overall income but also reducing inequality. Poverty incidence further dropping to 16.6% of the population in 2018 from 23.3% in 2015 tells us that we are on track in meeting our targets set under the Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022. With a poverty reduction rate of 2.23 percentage points per annum, we are not only on track to meet our PDP target of bringing down poverty incidence to 14% by 2022. We are also likely to meet the Sustainable Development Goal or SDG target of eradicating extreme poverty as defined by the International Poverty Line and cutting by half the proportion of the population living below the National Poverty Line by 2030. In fact, we have almost reached our target to lift 6 million Filipinos out of poverty by 2022, as 5.9 million have already been lifted out of poverty as of 2018. These demonstrate that the strategies elaborated in the Philippine Development Plan 2017-2022 do result in inclusive growth. The implementation of these strategies need to be sustained. The significant reduction in poverty is largely attributed to the improved labor market conditions that increase the salaries and wages of the poor. With a vibrant economy that continues to generate good jobs, the mean salaries and wages for the population went up by 22.8% to 156,114 pesos in 2018 from 127,122 pesos in 2015. For those in the bottom 30% of the population, mean per capita income increased by 31.87%. This outpaced the 18% income growth experienced by the top 20% of households. This is a good sign that our programs targeting the poor are working well. The sustained implementation, expansion, and enhancement of the government's social assistance programs, that is, Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino, Unconditional Cash Transfer, Pantawid Pasada, and Social Pension, provided additional income to the poorest sectors of the society. Transfers, which include cash transfers from the government, received by households from the bottom 3 deciles, increased by 34.8%, 32.8%, and 25% respectively. The full implementation of the social pension program likewise augmented the incomes of poor households, particularly the first income decile. Families from the first income decile experienced a 52% increase in their pension and retirement benefits during 2015 to 2018, compared to the national average of negative 5.7. Meanwhile, or the ratio by which the average income of the poor falls below the poverty line, as well as the severity of poverty, consistently improved in 2018 relative to 2015. Specifically, poverty gap decreased to 2.6% from 4.5%, while severity of poverty was reduced to 0.9% from 1.7%. These indicators signify that incomes of the poor are also increasing. I would also like to highlight that the broad-based decline in poverty incidence has eased disparities across regions. All regions recorded a decline in poverty incidence among families, except for the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. From 2015 to 2018, the largest drop in poverty incidence was recorded in Region 10 and Region 7. Notable improvements in poverty incidence and mean per capita income across regions were also reflected in other measures of poverty, validating improvements in lagging areas and those who are below the poverty line. Moving forward, we need to sustain, if not further enhance, the strategies already indicated in the Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022, noting that our vision is to end poverty by 2040. Given this, the government needs to be consistent in its robust poverty reduction efforts, especially in accelerating human capital development and expanding economic opportunities to hasten reduction in poverty and inequality across all regions in the country. The reforms we have initiated should be fully implemented to increase the country's competitiveness and attract more investments. Efforts to improve regional connectivity in accordance with the National Spatial Strategy must be accelerated to facilitate the creation of opportunities for production and increase in employment and livelihood opportunities in regions outside Metro Manila and urban rural centers. Moreover, we need to consider that constant displacement and insecure property rights brought about by conflict discourages private investments and reduces incentives to put up businesses and generate employment. Therefore, peace-building efforts, particularly in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, must be sustained. Meanwhile, we need to direct efforts towards greatly improving the quality of education for Filipinos, especially the poor and disadvantaged. The recently released program for the International Assessment of Students, or PSA, by the OECD showed that the reading literacy of 15-year-old Filipino learners is 340, the lowest. 353 in mathematical literacy, second lowest. And 357 in scientific literacy, second lowest, among 79 participating countries. We take these results as a major challenge. The Department of Education has embarked on Sulong Edukalidad, which aims to update the K-12 curriculum, improve the learning environment for students, upskill and reskill teachers, and engage stakeholders for support and collaboration. It is also important to pay attention to other factors affecting education outcomes. We need to reduce stunting, which results in poor cognition and educational performance among Filipinos. We also need an effective strategy to reduce teenage pregnancy, which reduces the chances of completion of education. In this regard, the Early Childhood Care and Development Council's first 1,000 Days program provides a holistic approach towards the development of the country's human resources through nutrition, health, early education, and social development interventions, focusing on the first 1,000 days of a child's life, the period from pregnancy up to 2 years. Moreover, comprehensive sexuality education has already been introduced. These need to be complemented by efforts from church, community, and other organizations to effectively reduce teenage pregnancy. We also need to reduce child dependency ratios to relax social and household budget constraints. To reduce vulnerabilities so that those who are no longer poor do not slide back to poverty in cases of unfortunate circumstances, we need to effectively support savings mobilization. The Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, or 4Ps, should deliberately encourage savings as one of its program components and not a ground for disqualification among beneficiaries. Finally, a comprehensive tax reform program is needed to accelerate poverty reduction and to sustainably address inequality by making the tax system simpler, fairer, and more efficient. At the same time, the tax system must provide sustainable funding for the various physical, social, and human capital investments. Rest assured that we in the government will continue our efforts to improve the quality of life of our people, leaving no one behind. And as you already know, our goal goes beyond poverty reduction. It is about enabling every Filipino to enjoy a matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay. Thank you once again. A pleasant morning to all of you.
Thank you very much, Yusek Navarro. Before we proceed to the open forum, please be informed that you could access the materials for this conference through the QR code to be provided through the infographics. You may also connect to PSA Wi-Fi 2 with password user-friendly. On your browser, kindly key in the URL 192.168.0.50. We now proceed to the open forum. We would like to remind everyone to please wait to be acknowledged before asking your question. Once you're acknowledged, may we request you to introduce yourself and state the media organization you are representing for documentation purposes. The floor is now open for your questions. Anyone from the media? Yes, Ms. Kai?
Hi, sir, ma'am. Good morning. I just want to ask how much do we still need to reduce poverty every year to meet the 2030 targets and the ambition basically to eradicate poverty? Thank you.
Yeah, so remember that our goal is really the ambition natin 2040, which is to end poverty as defined by national poverty line. So if we're looking at 16.6 in 2018 and we have 22 more years, 1 percentage point per year. But the thing is, as you move towards the zero, then it becomes more difficult. So we want to make much headway as much as we can. So if we can sustain the same poverty reductions we have the past 3 years, in 2.37 percentage points per year, that will be a very, very good legacy actually to the next administration.
Thank you very much. Do we have, yes, Ms. Chan?
2030, we're, okay, kasi yung 2030 SDG is actually to eradicate extreme poverty as defined by international poverty lines. The international poverty line correspond roughly to our subsistence threshold, which right now stands at, ang ating subsistence incidence ay nasa 5.2% of Filipinos. So all the way to 2030, we are very, very confident that we will meet that goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Adelion. Yes, Sir Ben.
Ben Rivera from Inquirer. Since you're undertaking also a review of the PDP 2017 to 2022, does the same target stand 14% given there was adjustment in the 2015 poverty incidence rate to a higher 23%? And then given that there had been so much inroads, a big reduction done in at least up to 2018, could we even still go lower? Could we set an even probably harder target than just 14% by 2020? Thank you.
Yeah, actually, it's a good thing that we have not yet released the midterm update, and so we will take this time to go over the targets once again, because as you said, na-meet na halos na. So we will try to set for ourselves more ambitious targets. Of course, this will have to be cleared with our principals, but I'm sure that they will go for that even more ambitious target as well.
And also, because last year we had elevated inflation, do you think we could have had cut poverty even more had prices skyrocketed towards the end of last year? Do you have any, does the PSA have any, like any simulation if prices were even lower, steady compared to the last year's extraordinary inflation episode? Could we have had lower, even lower poverty rates last year? Thank you.
You mean for this year?
18 to 2018, because we had
Yeah.
very high prices.
Yeah. Yeah. Ako muna, tapos pasok ko kaya na kay Mr. Dennis. Actually, we are confident really that poverty has continued its downward trend, even as we don't have data. It's really looking at, first, the labor market continues to thrive. So yesterday, you had the data on employment numbers. There was even more employment generated for 2019 compared to 2018. And then we have more benign food inflation this year. So, as I think, I don't know if we have other indicators to prove that, to point to that that suggestion, hindi suggestion, that estimate that actually, yes, poverty has been, is probably much lower now.
The inflation will have impact on the poverty threshold. No? So if you notice in the presentation, the poverty threshold between 2015 to 2018 increased by about 13.5%. And from our data, they show that, of course, the contribution was really in the 2018, more contribution. But when you look at the reduction in poverty, you also have to look at the income side. No? And as what Yusek Dora mentioned, that the income of the poorest 30% really increased much faster than the increase in the poverty threshold, which is caused by inflation. So there's like a balance, and then the income side, it was really higher at 30% in the last 3 years versus the increase in the poverty threshold of about 14%. So on the balance, you get this reduction in poverty.
Thank you, Yusek Napa. Do we have more questions? Mr. Bruce?
Good morning, Bruce Rodriguez from ABS-CBN News. Right now, we're also seeing that some of the rural areas may be that were affected by the rice tariffication law. Reportedly, their incomes are being negatively affected by that law. Could that maybe affect the overall anti-poverty efforts moving forward, maybe for 2019 or moving forward, since right now we're still not able to see maybe improvements in their incomes, especially in those rural areas? Thank you.
Yeah, moving forward, we're hoping that things will get better, especially as we put in place all those projects in the RCEP that will be funded out of the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund. You would note as well that the current leadership in the Department of Agriculture actually indicates that yung goal nila is to increase farmers' incomes. Yung reduction in the farm gate price of palay is indeed one of the outcomes that we want to come out of this rice tariffication. But what we want also is the increase in incomes, and how will that come about? First, it's really the increase in the quantity of the yield itself, and that is really through productivity improvements, and then the decrease in input costs. Also, because of improvements in productivity, improvements in the access to markets and post-harvest facilities, etc. And then additional activities for the farmers, especially during the off-peak season. So the Department of Agriculture is looking at the totality of farming activities. So not just farming per se, dapat may value adding, and that's really part of the focus going forward.
Thank you once again, Yusek Adelman. Yes, sir. Mike. Mike, please.
Hello, Ben Santos, TV5. Could you expound on for NEDA, yung implications ng dismal showing ng Philippines sa recent PSA ranking? What would this mean in terms of goal of eradicating extreme poverty and considering that already outlined their strategies? What are ways in terms of addressing this, especially in the context of making the next labor force globally competitive?
Yes, we are very much challenged by that, as I mentioned earlier, and of course, the strategies should revolve around improving education quality. And I mentioned the programs that the Department of Education has already started. So we need to sustain that and enhance that. And we also need the help of the private sector in pursuing our goal to improve education quality. Going forward, I think there should be greater collaboration between the private sector and the public sector with respect to the programs that we have started, like teachers upskilling and reskilling. So we need to engage more stakeholders, we need to engage more partners. This is not just a problem of the government, it's a problem also of, there should be a whole of nation approach in tackling this problem.
If I may add, we also would like to give credit to Secretary Briones of the DepEd because it was really her initiative to subject us to this international test. We have been wanting this for a very long time. So this is the first time ever after a very, very long time. Actually, we were subjected to an international test back in 03 or 05, not the PSA, I think the teams at that time. The results were also not good. So, Secretary realized that there is really a need to benchmark our achievements with respect to the rest of the world. And if you would note, if you would look at the testing scales in the PISA, it's actually more geared towards the 21st century skills. And this really puts us at a disadvantage because our curriculum has not really changed that much. Masyado yung focus natin on content. Whereas 21st century skills is about critical thinking, analytical ability, etc. But the good thing is that the DepEd is taking this on as a challenge, yung nabanggit na nga ni Yusek Adoya ng mga programs of the DepEd. And we also would like to emphasize that there is a need to improve our higher education curriculum then. Because these are the ones that produce the teachers that teach in the basic level. So our higher education curriculum should also be modified, be adjusted in order to align to this 21st century skills so that when they teach in the basic education, then they are also equipped to be able to impart such 21st century skills as well.
Thank you.
Is it correct to say na this is the biggest challenge, this issue na improving yung equipping yung labor force in 21st century?
Going forward, yes.
Long term.
Yes, it's still not a problem that we have as of now, but going forward, I would say 5-6 years down the road, depending on how fast this fourth industrial revolution will really reach our country. But once, it's now in the other places of the world, and so far we have not really benefited from that. And the way to benefit from it is to really have a critical mass of the workforce who are trained in this FIRE, and as much as possible. This is actually the reason why one of the long-term development agenda we have in relation to the ambition is to have smart and innovative Filipinos to be able to produce mga knowledge products coming out from the Philippines. And so this is a big challenge, like I said, going into the medium to long term. But the thing is, the investments or the corrections will have to be done as early as now.
Mr.
Hi, good morning. Chino Lane for Manila Community. My question about 4Ps. Na-quantify nyo ba if the 4Ps has already contributed to the reduction of poverty in the Philippines? I understand this program started in 2007. And
Actually, based on the data from the 2018 Family Income and Expenditure Survey, we noted that the contribution of the cash transfer from government, poor piece included, is substantial among the poorest 30%. So for example, for all the first decile, the poorest 10%, this is about 15% of their total income. For the second decile, this is about 12%. And for the third decile, it's about 10%. So here we can see that the contribution of the cash transfer, the poor piece, social protection program, actually help families move out of poverty.
If I may add, because
Yes, Ms. Secretary.
so okay na naman yung our also the reforms that we want done with respect to the 4Ps, and that's really including savings mobilization as a component of the 4Ps. The current design of the 4Ps is that they cannot actually maintain any balance in their accounts, no? Yung natatanggap nila na transfer. Because if they leave any balances, then that will be taken to mean that probably they don't need it, and it's actually could be a ground for disqualification. So what we want is more certainty. The current law of the 4Ps actually says that they will be beneficiaries for 7 years. I'm looking at Bernie de Mariana Santa. 7 years. 7 years sila, tapos probably a review sometime, basta ganun. Pero we're saying na, okay, i-maintain sila for 7 years, but let them have savings. And as much as possible, make sure that the transfers are actually given to them every month para hindi, so that it doesn't mess up their labor supply decisions. So, because if it's every month, then it's not too lumpy, the transfers. But the problem is sometimes it gets to be, given every 6 months. So, if that is the case, then that will really influence their. It could substitute for some of their labor decisions. But if it's done every month, and then if they are encouraged to save, so that kapag nagkaroon sila ng problema, meron silang tutuputin kaagad. So it also builds their resilience against life cycle shocks, etc.
Thank you. You have a follow-up question, sir? Mike, please.
My second question is on the poverty threshold. Siyempre, immediate reaction of the public when they saw it on social media is, if you're living in Metro Manila, that's too low. If you're living among the poorest provinces, that's too high. So how would you defend that 10,727 threshold, poverty threshold? Thank you.
If you'll notice, the poverty threshold that we reported is by region. So we have different thresholds across different regions. And I mentioned in the presentation that the National Capital Region actually had the highest poverty threshold. This is about 393 per day on the average. No? On the other hand, for the national average, it's just about 353 per day. So you have different thresholds to account for changes in prices, no? Because we've seen that different regions would experience some slow increase in prices, some would be faster. So accounted na dito sa poverty threshold.
If I may just add, actually, what we also want to emphasize here is that we've been using the same metric mula pa noon. No? So using the same metric as we have been, let's say in 2015, where poverty incidence was at 23.3%. And then you applying that same metric to 2018, it's now at 16.6%. So obviously there really is improvement. So that's the good thing about it. There really is improvement using that metric. And then also, just to also inform the public and to preempt ANS Wilma later on, we are also computing the multidimensional poverty index. Okay, so that multidimensional poverty index actually looks at the quality of life indicators. So, with respect to health, education, water and sanitation, housing, yun yung mga I think more people can relate to that because these are really indicators of deprivation.
Thank you, Yusek Mapa and Yusek Adelion. Any more questions from the media, Mr.?
Hello. For PSA, may napapatanong lang. Someone is asking if the rate of increase of the poverty line is same sa inflation ng poorest 30%.
For inflation of the poorest, very near, because our computation is that it's about that much. No? Primarily because the poorest 30%, most of their consumption would be on food. So the increase between 2015 to 2018 in the poverty threshold is about 13.5%. I think we have to look at the inflation rate, but my sense is that it's really about that number.
Yes, sir, Ben.
In this infographic, the poorest provinces as of 2018 based on poverty incidence among families were still in the area, and Sulu, Basilan, and Lanao, that's where Yusek Navarro mentioned earlier that it was the only region where there was no decline in poverty during the period 2050 to 2080. One of the reasons for this was the Marawi incident. Also, one factor, and how do we reverse this moving forward? Thank you.
Well, one reason is the higher increase in food prices there. If you may remember, that's where rice prices reach 70 pesos per kilo. And another is persistent armed conflict. So you're correct, the Marawi incident is one of them. But even after we've won in the Marawi conflict, there are still persistent local conflicts because of the presence of armed groups there. So as you can see, there's a slight increase in poverty incidence actually in the ARMM. So we're calling it ARMM here in this report because that's 2018, hindi pa the barn. But I understand that the PSA will do a backcasting or an estimation of the barn figures to include the new territories.
Do we need any extraordinary poverty reduction measures in these areas to address the very high incidence of poverty, aside from the usual rehabilitation of the authorities, of course, peace building in the region, but will there be any more interventions, extraordinary interventions to arrest this development?
I will recommend tighter monitoring of programs and projects there because although we are seeing cash transfers as a big reason for the decline in poverty in 2018, we've received reports of issues in the implementation of projects, including cash transfers here. Especially when I was there and doing investment programming and planning for Marawi, may mga nagsusumbong mga tao about leakages, about ghost beneficiaries. So I think that we need to continue the programs. We need to sustain the programs, implement these strategies in the Philippine Development Plan, which were adopted also by the BARM Regional Development Plan, which is being drafted ngayon na. But we need to ensure that these programs are properly monitored so that there are no ghost beneficiaries or minimize them significantly and no leakages.
No, sorry. Specific to Marawi, how would you assess the rehabilitation so far, and if it could be fast tracked so we can help reduce poverty specific to the city?
Okay, so it's like I have to grade myself because I'm part of a task force Bako Marawi, but my part there is planning. Admittedly, there are delays because the task force mentioned targets, but then we were unable to deliver those targets. But the money is there. It's just that the programs, the projects are slow moving. So I believe that many of these things can be resolved through tighter monitoring and constant communication with the stakeholders, which also need to participate. For example, the landowners when the concern is related to land acquisition. For example, the officials and persons involved in unearthing, determining where the OXOs or the unexploded ordinances are located and then unearthing them. So I think those measures need to be tightened.
Thank you, Yusek Navarro. Any more questions? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good morning, ma'am. Sir, I'm Melanie Moros from PTV4. So my question is for Ma'am Navarro, for Laneta. In general lang, ma'am, what's your message and assurance for the Filipinos na nasa poorest pa rin? Kumbaga, ano yung mga patuloy na government actions and plans para, kumbaga, maiangat na sila? And at the same time, doon naman sa mga nasa least poor, ano po yung mga actions natin para, kumbaga, ma-maintain sila doon or mas maiangat pa nga? Thank you po.
Thank you. Actually, my general message is to continue trusting government. No? We need to really build a high trust society so that everyone will do their part, will contribute, and so that those who are working in the government will also be inspired to deliver well.
Thank you, Yusek Navarro. Any more questions? Yes, or gentleman at the front side.
Hello, good morning. I'm Adrian America from PSA. Do you think that the current population growth trend in the Philippines will have any effect on poverty eradication efforts, wherein by 2030 it is projected we will have more than 120 million Filipinos by that time? Thank you.
Yeah, well, Sec Ernie would love your question. Yeah, actually, population growth really impacts on in poverty, especially since it's the poor families that tend to have the more children. So they're faced with a very tight budget constraints, and so most of the budget therefore goes to food, and not too much on the other human capital investments like health and education. So what government is doing is really, well, first of all, there's the reforms in order to bring down the price of food, and then also reforms to provide access to healthcare and education. But needless to say, we still need to improve on yung sabi nga namin, reduce the dependency ratios, especially amongst the poor. I think the goal now is to meet those tinatawag nating unmet need, okay, with respect to family planning. So we want Filipino families to still to plan for their families, and then whatever their goal is with respect to family size, then we make sure that they have access to the commodities, to the services, kahit pa natural yan, to enable them to meet that desired family size. We're thinking that whatever is their desired family size, probably this was also a result of their decision-making process. Na ito yung kaya natin kasing suportahan, ito yung kaya natin palakihin ng maayos. Ganito kadami na. Yun. So, given that, that's kung ano man yung desired family size mo, and what government should do is to enable you to be able to meet this desired family size.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right. If there are no more questions, we now conclude the press conference on the 2018 40-year official poverty statistics of the Philippines. To everyone who attended this press conference, most especially our resource persons and friends from the media, thank you very much and good morning.